Is it going to work? Do you really, really believe that? Because the tides are turning.
What I'm about to tell you will shake you. Because the inflation you're feeling right now, it's not the real danger. The real threat is what comes after. When the shelves empty, the dollar cracks, and the system that has kept America standing finally breaks. Lynette Zang is sounding the alarm. And if you hold gold or silver, you need to hear every second of this. This isn't fear. This is your final warning before the next big hit.
So what's going on with the consumer? Let's take a look at that. Because the price of ribeye steaks and burgers are soaring. Ground beef prices in the U.S. have surged 63% since 2020. Why? Because of this, my friends. Because when stock markets and real estate markets, when it looks like the prices go up, it's because of all of the new debt and the new money debt that they pushed into the system that has to go somewhere. And do you remember in 2020, they were talking about that K-shaped recovery where those at the top were doing great, but those at the bottom were doing awful? Well, that hasn't gone away either. And it's really getting worse. Because those at the top, so what if the price of steak goes up? If they want steak, they'll still eat steak. But for the average person, that steak becomes harder and harder to obtain. And as we've seen on a global basis, food is becoming a huge issue. But we've also seen it here in the U.S., which is supposed to be a very wealthy country. And we've seen the rise in hunger. And quite honestly, that is not okay with me. Look we're near the highest levels ever in food prices. And it's not inflation goes up and inflation goes down. It's the speed of that inflation that gets faster or slower. But either way, that inflation just continues to compound. And they change the numbers to make things look better. So if you can't afford steak in the index, they put in hamburger. Oh, you can't afford hamburger? We'll put in hot dogs. So even these numbers, they're a lie, and they're designed to limit exposure on Social Security increases, but also to try and fool you so you think things are much better than they are. Is it going to work? Do you really, really believe that? Because the tides are turning and that hopium is disappearing. And the normal public is anticipating a higher level of inflation. And that means that confidence piece, that is in danger. And that's the last piece of confidence that's holding this whole game together. What is going to happen? It looks like we're forming a wedge, right? That wedge of cheese is going to break out on the upside, and therefore people's feelings that inflation is going to heat up even more, which erodes the public confidence even more. Is that what's going to happen? Or will some miracle occur and people not believe their personal experiences when they go to the grocery store or anywhere else and need their insurance, etc.? Because there is no safety net. And that's why we encourage you so strongly to become as self-sufficient and independent inside of community as possible. And you have to create that surety in food, water, energy, security, barterability, which for me is mostly silver, but any talent you have, anything physical that you have is barterable. Wealth preservation, which for me is primarily gold because it is sound money that cannot be inflated away. They can't inflate away silver either. Community, because we are running out of time and you need to create that surety. And shelter. These are the things that we all need to lead a reasonable standard of living. And this just came in today that U.S. companies shed jobs as October drew to a close. This is ADP data. So inside of all of this pain, We are now facing a huge recession for the public. Verizon is going to cut up to 20,000 jobs. All right, there's your layoffs there. But hey, why worry? Go out and charge. Go out and spend up a storm. I don't think so. Walgreens cuts pay for hourly store workers. That means that they don't get paid for holidays anymore. And then it'll ratchet up, because that's what has to happen. We have to protect corporate profits at all cost, but we don't have to protect the little guy. But guess what? The little guy can become the big guy if we come together in community and we demand our power back. Because while local community is critically important to create surety in all those areas you need to lead a sustained standard of living, what the socialist movement misses, what most people miss, we don't have to control rent. We have to control the value of the money. And how do you do that? By redeemable gold inside of the global monetary system again. And redeemable gold means that if you, as an individual, do not like what you're seeing the government do, you can pull the gold out of the system and force fiscal responsibility. What a concept. You have to be fiscally responsible. If you spent money like the government spends money, you'd be living under a bridge. You would lose everything. It is time to take our power back. Individually, call us. Create that sound money foundation. But make sure that inside of local community, you meet others with like minds. You come together. Where? How do I do this? People ask me that all the time. Go to a farmer's market. Meet the people that create your food. Go to a community garden where people are growing food. Volunteer your time. You'll learn skills. You'll create that relationship. And there's your beginning foundation. It's not rocket science. It's really quite simple, because things are going to get worse as these jobs go away, as payrolls are now cut into inflation, as prices are going up. We've now hit the highest record of delinquencies in car loans to the riskiest borrowers. And we were just talking about that in a recent video that we just did. If you haven't seen it, go back and take a look. But Americans are struggling to afford their monthly auto payments. That is the latest sign of the pain for lower income borrowers. You think? Yeah, I think. And that pain is going to get worse. And I believe that we have an obligation on this planet as human beings to help others, to come together in community and bring those gifts that we all have. We all have gifts that we can share, whatever that may be. Now is the time to make all of this happen, because can you tell me the moment you will lose all choice? The answer is no. And look, I knew in 2008 that the system died. That's when I became an urban farmer and started to develop the mantra. Well, we don't have that luxury of time anymore. That's why that local community is so critical. And this K-shaped recovery, guess what? I've done enough videos to know that it's only K, it's only at the very, very tippy top. Because we're seeing people with incomes in excess of $250,000 living paycheck to paycheck and being buried under mountains of debt. Well, part of the strategy is to get out of that fixed rate debt. And that variable rate debt, I hope you're whittling that down now and getting rid of it, because that's the danger. And in this K-shaped recovery, you want to be the 1%? Well, yeah. How do you do that? You have a sound money platform that they cannot inflate away, and in fact is severely undervalued, when all these other stocks and bonds and anything tied to this fiat money, it's overvalued. That's why they have to inflate it away. What is the true value? Zero. Look at the purchasing power chart at the Federal Reserve Education Department, the Fed. Zero. Why? Because it takes nothing. It costs nothing to create this. And in a digital system, it costs even less. And the less it costs to create the money, more money gets created, and the less value it has. Sound money takes energy and labor to pull it out of the ground, to mint it. And guess what? Gold is indestructible, so it holds that energy, that water, that labor, and can be used over and over and over again, an infinite number of times. This is a huge battle. You tell me what you want to go into this battle with. Something that's used in one place. This is a physical representation of Bitcoin. One place. And it hasn't gone through the test yet. Maybe this is the test now. We'll find out. Maybe these overvalued markets, well, maybe valuations matter again. Maybe affordability matters again. To me, it's always mattered. Always. And you matter. Let's come together in community and take our power back.
If you're still listening, then you already know what Lynette just said isn't theory. It's happening. Inflation isn't easing. It's tightening. Food isn't getting cheaper. It's vanishing. And the US dollar isn't stabilizing. It's slipping. But here's the real point. Those who prepare now win later. Those who hold real assets survive the reset. And those who stay informed stay ahead. So don't disconnect now, because what's coming next might be the most important update Lynette has ever delivered. Please give us a like, subscribe the channel, and press the bell icon. Stay alert, stay educated, and stay protected. Thank you.